Why Apple's silicon ambition is bad news for Intel Windows ecosystem. When Apple announced last year that its Macs will be powered by its custom silicon instead of Intel processor, it marked the end of 15-year partnership between two tech giants. Apple Monday showcased two new high-end MacBooks Pros powered by its own custom Apple Silicon chips. But it wasn't just another event to show off Cupertino's expertise in hardware and software. In fact, the event was a display of the progress Apple has made in the processor segment, with its in-house silicon showing chipmaker Intel and entire PC industry what's wrong with Windows laptops and the chipsets that power them. Along with the performance, even in terms of perception, the new M1 Pro and M1 Max chipsets that power the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models have hit Intel badly. This does indeed put pressure on Intel. Brian Ma, Vice President of Client Devices and Market Research firm IDC, told IndianExpress.com. The last thing that Intel wants is for there to be a perception that Apple Silicon outperforms its own, especially when speed and feeds have long been a huge core competency and differentiator for Intel, he said. It strikes at the core of Intel's identity. While Apple announced last year that its Macs will be powered by its custom silicon instead of Intel processors, it marked the end of 15-year partnership between two tech giants. The Cupertino company announced three new Macs running the first Apple Silicon, the M1 designed specifically for its computers. The M1, which uses an ARM-based architecture rather than an Intel or AMD 86 CPU, brought faster performance and better battery life to Macs. It completely blew away Intel's based PCs in performance, which helped Apple set the narrative around the future of the modern personal computer. But the M1 chip, similar to Apple's iPhone and iPad processor, wasn't designed for consumers who want the most powerful computers to do heavy graphics intensive work, which is why the M1 chip was first introduced on devices like the MacBook Air and Mac Mini, leaving the Intel-powered 16-inch Mac Pro mostly untouched. But that changed with the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips. The new processor are a huge setup for the M1 in terms of both GPU and CPU performances, and putting them in a MacBook Pro shows Apple's confidence and its ability to take on Intel's best performing chip. The M1 Pro has 10 CPU cores and 16 GPU cores, while the M1 Max has 10 CPU cores and 32 GPU cores. The M1 Pro can be configured with up to 32 GB of RAM, twice as much as M1 16 GB capacity. The M1 Max meanwhile features up to 64 GB RAM. The impact of M1 Pro and M1 Max is pretty significant for Intel, as these chips would be one of the key factors for creative professionals to refresh their notebooks from their existing Intel devices to M1 device, said Gartner Research Director Mikao Kitawaga. She added, creative professionals are one of Apple's core user community in the business market. These professionals have been waiting for the M1 device for them, as well as more applications are natively written for M1. Even though MacBook Pro caters only to professional users such as graphic designers and coders, they are also the most loyal customers. They are the ones who are willing to spend thousands of dollars on a premium notebook, and for them performance per watt really matters. The launch of M1 Pro and M1 Max shows how far Apple has come in developing silicon on its own. Cupertino started investing in chip development way back in 2008, and since 2010 it has been using its own A-series chips for iPhones and iPads. Having full control over the hardware, software and chip development help Apple integrate its product tightly, something you won't get with Windows-based PCs that are either powered by Intel or AMD chips. Under Johnny Straujo, Apple has transformed into a chip company, a massive transformation that was way away from the media glare until recently. What Apple's rise as silicon major is also to do with Intel's inability to meet the needs of Apple, which at one point of time was an important client. With continued delays in moving towards a new, smaller transistor processor and its reluctance to outsource the manufacturing of chips, Intel has fallen behind TSMC in the race to make better processors. Despite that, Intel still commands a lion's share in the CPU market. The problem is that the PC industry as a whole, including OEM, software provider and GPU makers, is largely dependent on Intel. It is It's true that Apple controls the hardware and software, but as in the case of Intel, Microsoft and PC OEMs, they too work closely in designing products. But then the PC market has become stagnant over the year and there is a clear lack of vision. This has led to creative professionals switching to Mac over Windows laptops, putting the spotlight on Apple and the MacBook Pro. I believe Apple tries to control as many components as possible to differentiate themselves and also be in control of the supply chain. Kitwaga explained on why developing its own custom silicon for Mac benefits Cupertino and helps the company to design its product at its own pace without worrying about Intel's timeline of developing chips. It also about controlling the cost since Apple does not want to have to deal with Intel's over negotiation of chips. Intel may have lost Apple as a client, but the chip behemoth recently laid out a roadmap to expand its new foundry business to catch rivals such as Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co. TSMC and Samsung by 2025. Ma said Apple and Intel can be partners though. Not only are there other components beyond the CPU that Intel offers, but also Intel has a new foundry business that in theory at least could manufacture Apple's own silicon designs. Thank you.